You're a startup founder. You think your product is amazing and feel like more people should be buying, but the road is long and slow. It feels like you're stuck. There's always one thing I ask startup founders. Have you talked to your customers? They almost always say, heck yes, we talk to our customers all the time. But what I find is they're either selling or trying to improve their product. These are not customer-focused conversations. If we can get curious about our customers, then we can uncover critical insights that will help us build to the next round. I'm Anna Firmenov, and welcome to Building with Buyers, a show about startup growth where I'll explore how customers help startups build to the next round. Welcome to Building with Buyers. I am floored because we're friends. and I just, I'm seeing you. Usually we'll be doing a FaceTime chat or seeing each other in person, but here you are on my show. And I'm just it's just a moment. I'm just having a moment right now of is this real? Anna Baskin is co-founder and CEO at Hightail. And Hightail is a low-dose THC infused beverage for when you want to sip in some fun. So, Anna, welcome to the show. And like I said, we've been friends forever, it seems like. Met you at Kellogg. How did we meet? Do you remember our first encounter?
Section.
What?
I do remember walking back from whatever, I can't remember what it's called, that first week where it's basically military indoctrination and we wear the shirts and do the chants and all that. I remember walking back.
Wasn't it called Sim?
Yeah. Yes, Sim. So I remember walking back from Sim with you.
We have so many memories.
Yeah.
We did the Michael Jackson dance.
Oh, yeah. I choreographed some
You choreographed some dance. We did some
TGIFs.
dances. Yeah.
Or TGs, I guess. We didn't say that yet.
Yeah. So different flavors: sparkling strawberry hibiscus, raspberry basil lemonade. Look, do you like my voice?
I do.
Cocoa pomegranate yuzu, all these different flavors. And this is a new to the market type of beverage. And you're building it, Anna. I want to say, wow, I'm so proud of you. I love seeing folks from business school, building companies, being successful with them and growing something from nothing. It's really cool. It's really exciting. It's really hard. But I am very proud of you and all of the growth that you've had so far.
Thank you so much. I just want to say you were a big inspiration. I remember when you took off on your own, I was so jealous. And I was like, that's so cool. I could never do that. And here we are a couple years later.
Yeah. Remember we were in Mexico celebrating your birthday.
Yeah. I was you were in Mexico or Wisconsin. We were somewhere fun.
We were somewhere fun. Yeah. And you're I have this bit. I want to do this. I want to do entrepreneurial stuff. And here we are. So on the show, I'm exploring the role that customers play in helping companies build to their next level of growth. What I found working with all of these different companies and clients and just hanging out and having conversations with people in general, I find that customers play such an important role, but oftentimes they get forgotten, right? And founders are so focused on the net new, whether it's B2B or B2C. I personally focus more on B2B, and I find that this happens a lot with come on, we have revenue targets, right? We need net new. We forget about our customers, but they are so important. And this goes beyond being just customer friendly or customer support or talking to customers about the product and what do you like and what do you not like. There's so much more where customers can play a significant role in a company's growth. So I'd love to talk about that with you. First I wanted to talk about sipping some fun.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I actually think they're related.
Hightail
is customer first, customer obsessed. So that's how I started. I'm a huge nerd, as you know. I've got some insights in my background, and also from a strategy perspective. And then I also had retail real estate. So it was critical to me to understand not only who is this customer, but where is this customer? So really, when I started this out, probably unlike most entrepreneurs, I started with just customer exploration. So looking at the data, looking at census, looking at like BLS data to understand purchase behavior. Who is drinking ready to drink? Why? Where are they? And that's kind of where I started. And you find, of course, like the number one buyer by a large margin of ready to drink alcohol is moms with kids at home. And why is that? Because we can't leave, right? We have to stay there and be with them.
We're
So
stuck.
there's a lot more like house hangs that happen, right? Like when you're in your 20s, you're out at the bar. When you're 30s and 40s, you're home with your kids. They're playing, you're hanging with adults, right? And so then I looked into the psychographics of what's going on with that woman, what's she up to, and like how's she feeling? What are her unmet needs? And then there was so much written about like the sandwich generation, saying that we're like having kids later. So we're peak mom while we're peak work. And by the way, our parents are getting older. And it's just like really heavy, a lot of responsibilities. And then at the same time, there's this huge kind of, I think, backswing from the pandemic. I think a lot of us just drank a lot because you were stuck in your house. And then you kind of realize that that didn't serve you. And then also your body's changing, right? When you're 40, that shit hurts, right? So like now, 2 glasses of wine kind of feels like you drank 2 bottles of wine 5 years ago.
What is going on?
Yeah, it's very sad.
Awful.
I had a tiny violin sad moment when I realized that it just doesn't work the way it used to. It used to be like, fun, we'll turn up and we'll be fine tomorrow. And that's not the case. So that's going on in mass as well. And so the insight there was just like, man, this woman really wants something delightful that is fun, but what she's turning to for fun is actually hurting her. And that's adding more heaviness and responsibility and just sadness, I think. And so I don't want to get too dark, but that's the kernel of why I wanted to do this. I really want to bring some levity and genuinely spread like some social, happy, fun message, and also like a drink that's a conduit for that socialization that like really gets people together and makes them feel good without feeling bad tomorrow. So it's really, we're born of the customer, and I'm obsessed with her and him. We're an inclusive brand, but obviously really focused on mom right now.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I've never tried any of this stuff. I just want to say, I have people on the show that are they're like smoking weed. They talk about it. I've never tried. I remember we were texting back and forth, and I just want to put this just out there that I've never smoked before. I've never tried any like experimental drugs or anything. So when you brought this up, I was like, oh, but how's it going to make me feel? I'm nervous, right? The only thing that I would drink is alcohol, like wine and beer. So then I tried this and I was like, oh, nice. Right. And I think
so
that
light, right?
It's so light.
Really what I want to be is very approachable. We're not getting high with this drink, right? It's only 1.5 milligrams, which is tiny. The smallest gummy you can get is 5 milligrams. But I did have the insight from a lot of customers told me that they were biting a 5.5, and that was their whole night. And I wanted people to be able to have 2. So I was like, if your maximum is like 2.5, 3, why don't we be at 1.5 so you can have 2 Hightails and feel good without feeling like you're in outer space, right?
Yeah, totally. So how are you growing your customer base? I mean, it just hit me that like there is nothing else out there. I think that this is new. Let's talk about that first. Like,
there's such a long tail of consumers that have no idea that drinkable hemp-based THC is legal, right? So they're like, whoa, they might not even know you can drink THC. To your point, they might not want THC per se, but they might like a non-alcoholic drink that gives them a little zhuzh, right? So I really think of Hightail more that way. It's just a drink. It's an adult beverage. So yes, there's some THC in it, but it's not about that. It's not like Cheech and Chong, right? That's a real drink that exists. That's not for me. So I think it is starting to segment in ways that make a lot of sense as that industry matures. And honestly, I didn't know it existed a year ago when I got into this. I was like, oh my God, it's so great that you could buy a drink like this at Binny's, at Fresh Time Market, when it's in grocery and when it's in liquor stores. If you can choose between a Hightail and a High Noon, I would choose a Hightail all day. It tastes better. It's better for you. It's lower carbonation. It's lower calories. And you feel good.
Yeah.
Without feeling bad tomorrow.
And you can pick the sparkling one, or you can pick the still one if you don't like sparkling. I remember we were talking about that.
Right.
So how are you growing right now? Like what's working right now in terms of getting customers? I mean, clearly you reached out to your network.
Yes.
That's happening. What about beyond that?
Absolutely. So we're starting on social. We're trying to build out Instagram, I think has been the most successful for us so far, but we're also working TikTok. We just got bigger into that in the last couple of weeks. We've got, of course, Facebook. LinkedIn has been big for me. I'm such a nerd that I feel like most comfortable there. I was off social media for 6 years before getting back on for this purpose. So I don't think you could call me like a native. It's not my like organic place to just talk about myself and film it. So LinkedIn I like because it's
I've
about
seen you
ideas.
on there because that's basically the only place I play is
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
right.
So have you found people learn about you from LinkedIn? Like you're
Yes, I have like a lot of conversion from LinkedIn, which is pretty funny. But I think also there's so much overlap between like quite professional people that are of a certain age, like Hightail is for them. So it sort of makes sense. Where like there's a competitor called Nowadays. They went viral on TikTok and sold like $1 million worth of stuff in like a week, right? Will that happen to Hightail? I don't know. Because there's not, I do think moms are on TikTok for sure, but maybe not as much as like Gen Z.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Moms are on LinkedIn.
Well, certain, and I think it's just about player position, right? That's like a natural place for me. So that's working. And then our CRM is really important to us. So we're trying to get more people on the email list. That's obviously like an amazing CAC and conversion opportunity if you already have them in your email list and they buy from there.
What would you say is really challenging for you right now? Like what's hard?
The hardest thing for me is fundraising. I think you hear that from a lot of people in a lot of industries. It's just a really tricky time. There's a lot of geopolitical uncertainty. The stock market's been way up and way down. And of course, there's some regulatory risk in this category. So I think that has been the toughest. And I think a lot of people, there hasn't been like a big exit in this space, right? So like if we have the poppy of THC Bev occur in the next year or two, I think you'll see a ton of capital flood in. But I think everybody's kind of waiting for that big valuation. And, is it going to be ABI or Diageo or Heineken or like who's going to be that investor that's going to go big into the space? And then I think those dominoes will fall. But right now it's still a little bit untested and there's
What's
a
going
lot
on
of
with
regulatory
Poppy? Like
churn.
Poppy's everywhere. What
Yeah.
happened? Do you know? Like how did they were nowhere and then they're everywhere.
I
Do
mean,
you know?
distribution, right? Like they got into Walmart. That'll
That'll do it.
100x your revenue real quick. And yeah, I think they got some good funding. They did beautiful marketing and they got a really nice exit. So,
Yeah, amazing. Okay,
and they're getting
so
like a 9x multiple too. Like that would be nice because
wow.
usually CPG is like a 2 to a 4.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But you'll see the same thing with like Athletic Brewing Co. So I think those like health and wellness type beverages are getting a huge premium in the market where investors are really liking that. So we're like, hello, we're very healthy.
Right,
Like a really
right.
nice alternative, especially a Hightail. Like there's no artificial flavors, there's no artificial colors, no chemicals, no preservatives, all good stuff, organic cane sugar, highest quality emulsions, and natural flavors and colors. So
I love that.
we hope to be the poppy of the THC movement.
Yeah, yeah. So how are you incorporating customers as part of your growth efforts? It sounds like you're doing, you're on some channels, you're trying to get people to learn about you, creating awareness around what you're building and how it's different. How do you bring customers into this mix?
Yep, we're obsessed with customers and I love data, as you know.
I
I'm all
know.
about that. So one way is we're working with a company called More Better that's doing like the landmark study on THC beverage use because we really want to understand how does our product affect our customers? How do they feel? How does it affect their drinking? How does it affect their sleep? So that's in flight right now. We're going to have between 100 and 125 consumers interacting with Hightail on a daily basis for 2 weeks and then responding to queries via text every single day. And so I'm really excited to see those results. And I think that'll teach us a lot about who our customers and how the drink is being incorporated into their lives. So that's one. And then two, I really want to do a consumer panel. So when we're a little bit bigger and more mature, and I've had more people try it more than once, I'd love to get a panel going and do like pulse surveys or quarterly check-ins on a certain number of consumer KPIs to really kind of chart where we're going. So I would love your thoughts on like what are those KPIs? Is it like net promoter? Is it just general satisfaction. And also just I am emailing and texting consumers as well, just new buyers, especially that I don't know, like you said, not from my network. And just asking them, what drew you to us? What were you hoping for? Did we deliver on that? What could we do better?
Hey, it's Anna, host of Building with Buyers. I started the show because I found that customers play such an important role in business growth, but they're often overlooked. We're so focused on net new. But the thing that makes you unique is not your product. There are so many companies solving the same problem, and they have customers too. The thing that makes you unique is your superfan customers. That's your moat. Most positioning and messaging is guesswork. I'm a customer insights and strategy advisor, and I help my clients by interviewing their customer superfans and translating those insights into clear and compelling positioning and messaging that specific people care about. So you get deeper engagement with customers and prospects, increased inbound to demos, better sales conversations, increased word of mouth, and closed deals. If you're done guessing, stumbling along, and want to be more customer obsessed, reach out. I'd love to help. And now, back to the episode.
I think within what you just said, there was a little bit of a question, which is like, when you connect with your customers, like what are some of the things you want to be digging for and asking them? And I think coming into this conversation when we first started the episode, you kind of told me like who you're for and why you exist for them and what's kind of like the story behind what you're trying to do for them. What are they dealing, like all this stuff, believe it or not, is typically missing when I work with B2B companies. And so it's music to my ears to hear you know who this person is, you know who you're building this for, you know who your target buyer is and what they're dealing with in their day-to-day in their life, who they have to take care of, right? Some of the feelings that they're feeling, like this is amazing. I think you're figuring out the right stuff. Some of the other work in the work that I do, some other interesting research that I find that goes beyond like, what do you like about the product? What do you not like about it? How can we improve it? How did you find out about us? Like, what made you decide to like click and purchase? Because it's like one thing to be aware of something, but a completely other thing to click and purchase, and then maybe even click and purchase several times. It's a completely different thing. And especially for those people that are beyond your network, that are cold. Those are the people that I would focus on now.
Right.
Because like, I love you. I think you're awesome. And I'm going to like buy whatever you're going to sell me. Right. But the people that come in cold, they came to you and they purchased and they don't know you and they purchased it for their own reasons and preferences. So talking to them, finding out who they are, like finding out what's their lifestyle like beyond just drinks, right? Beyond, are they sporty? Just like, yeah, which I think you're doing already. And then another thing that I like to do is find out about their content consumption. There's a lot of content out there. We're always complaining like there's so much news, there's so much content, there's so much TikTok videos, there's so much, right? But that's kind of how it is. And people are consuming a lot of different content across different social platforms and reading a lot of material too, like newsletters, etc. So asking about that, and it might have to do with food and drink. Probably it'll go outside of food and beverage because they're, not necessarily scrolling TikTok for food and beverage content. So what are they looking at? What other brands do they love and for what reasons? And so those might be interesting because you might find like co-marketing opportunities with brands that are a little bit bigger than you. That's interesting. I work in B2B, so yes, they'll talk about like, I go to these events and they're work focused, but what other events do you go to? What other podcasts do you listen to beyond work related? Oh, I listen to like some comedy stuff because I like to have things be light at the end of a work day or something like that. So those are some interesting things to dig for too.
Those are great ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. So great question. What about like big bets? What are you going to do this year? And it sounds like you're kind of testing the waters a little bit. One of the other things is like check to learn where your buyers are hanging out. Maybe you'll find that 50% they like LinkedIn, 50% they like TikTok, and then you have to cover both. Or YouTube is a big one and you're not exploring YouTube. So just like check back in. What I find is that like when you're early stage and you don't know as much, you're kind of like, let's test Facebook and let's test TikTok and let's test. There's a lot of testing when you can prioritize based on what your customers are saying. And you can actually start doing like survey stuff, right? You don't have to like pull them into a 30-minute conversation to find that stuff out. You can just send out a survey and find that stuff out.
Right.
And that will help. So big bets. What are you thinking for this year?
So for this year, we're focused on D2C in the next quarter. Really want to grow that, get some brand awareness going. And then we're also doing like strategic on-premise accounts. Mostly that means they're close to me so I can go fulfill them myself because we are a true kind of bootstrappy startup at this moment.
What's strategic on-premise accounts? Does that mean like retailers that are local?
It really is like restaurants, bars and restaurants that like cater to my audience, right? So like where is the customer that I'm looking for? Is it brunch? And, can I make sure that she's there? And then we're kind of building that muscle of like, oh, a place where I used to have a mimosa or a glass of champagne. Now I'm going to have a Hightail. It kind of gets me to the same place where I want to go without feeling like I need a nap later in the day.
Are you going to your local restaurants and bars and like selling? Like
Yes. And I did that on Tuesday. So now I'm at a new place called Milkstop. It's really fun. I know it's super small and not like the most scalable, but it's really meaningful to me. It's important to me to show up in my community and like really stand for my brand. And it's fun. It's been so much support. I love LaGrange. I just love where we live and I love the restaurants there. And it's really fun to see yourself on their menu and on their social media channels and things like that.
And that makes a lot of sense. Like you're local and there's plenty of opportunity locally, right? Versus let's blast everyone on social media. And like that can be hard, right?
One of the leaders in the category is a brand called Breeze. They're spending $2 to $3 million monthly on Meta. Am I going to spend 2 to 3? Am I going to show up in the same way? Am I going to like beat them on that territory when they're born of a performance marketing agency? I am not. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know if we'll ever get there. To go back to your question on big bets, I come from retail. I'm a retail person. I expect that we're going to be a retail brand. D2C is great, and I'm happy to do that. It provides access because this is still a new category where there's a lot of states where you can't go to Binny's and get it, right? So D2C makes a lot of sense. In the future, it doesn't make any sense for the environment, for costs, for supply chain to ship super heavy water all over the country to consumers to their house when they could just go to the store and get it themselves. If the customer does last mile for you, that's much more profitable than you doing it on their behalf. So I think we will head there. I think D2C is great and it'll stay, but I think it'll 80-20 like everything else. Retail is where you get your big volume numbers. And so I wanted, by the end of the year, I'd like to be in a few major liquor and grocery stores.
Amazing. All right. I'm thinking of a podcast episode that you need to listen to. And I don't know if you've heard of Goodles, mac and cheese. Okay. Goodles, the podcast episode is like I can't remember. Oh, here, it's episode 95. You've got to listen to this. It's called This Is Huge, How to Take on Billion-Dollar Companies When You're Small. And so this company started very small as you are starting, and they were selling this like nutritious mac and cheese DTC. So they have a website, they're DTC, but then they hit the stores and now they're available in Whole Foods and they're available like just across the board. They're available pretty much in the large retailers. So I'm just hearing, how you're trying to grow and noticing that there's a lot of really cool stuff in that episode that we talked about of how to do it when you're small and do it successfully. So listen to it.
I will. Thank you.
It's going to be awesome. You asked me a little bit of a sneaked a question in there, but like, do you have any question that you want to ask me?
I do. Yeah. So like I said, we're really focused on D2C right now, and I'm very focused on my end consumer, but also I think going into retail and especially liquor stores, distributors are a huge proponent. So curious from a B2B perspective, how you might recommend building eminence and getting that sales funnel going on the B2B side in concert with what we're doing with D2C.
With retailers, right?
And
is
distributors.
What you're at. And distributors. Yeah. So listen to that episode. And I also will recommend, do you know Jen Saxton?
Yeah.
Jen Saxton also was on the show, and she's got Tot Squad, and she also had to figure out how to sell to retailers. And we talked about, and not so much distributors because she had to like offer up this service at retail locations, but we talked about how she was able to convince retailers, and she was actually doing on-site market research. So as the folks were shopping in the store, she would ask them something around like trying to get, because Tot Squad is basically washing your car out for like the baby seats and everything related to your kids that gets really dirty. And so it would be just like her thinking was it'd be a nice tie-in to like be located there when people were doing their shopping, they could get their car seats cleaned. And so she did this research, and she found that people spent, when they had to kind of wait for the service to get done, they spent more money shopping. That was like a win-win for both. And so that swayed the decision. There's other things in that episode that swayed the decision. But we did that episode like very early. It's episode 6, December 2020. We did that episode. And she's successful. So she clearly knew what she was doing, right? So that episode is called Partnerships and Relationships Over Paid Ads, which is key when you're early stage. Totally. It's all about partnerships and relationships for when you're working with retailers. So hopefully that's helpful. That's what I do. Like when I can't answer the question myself, because I've never actually done this type of work that you're doing, I just pull in like the episodes where we talked about exactly how the founders were able to successfully launch into this. So great question. Any other questions? I might not have time to answer it now, but I always like to kind of keep it in my back pocket and maybe create a bonus episode on it. So,
okay, yeah. One other thing, I think a huge opportunity and challenge for our industry, THC Bev, is that it is so new. And so education, I think, is super critical, but it's also like very boring. So while trying to be this like sipping some fun, happy, light marketing for Hightail, how do we also educate on like what is 1.5 milligrams? How will you feel? And so I thought if you've done any like B2B healthcare or other kind of categories, it would be interesting to talk through like how can you make education fun, edutainment while staying on brand.
I have episodes to recommend for this because there's multiple companies that came on the show and they talked about category creation. And I've also had the father of category creation, Christopher Lockhead. He works with both B2C and B2B companies. And so he's been on the show 4 times. So we talk heavily. Yes, I have many things to share with you, Anna, after we're done talking. So I think that like the one thing that comes to mind is when you're creating a new category, it's like double the hard because you're trying to educate people while also selling. So it's really hard. And a lot of times, especially when you're starting, you focus more heavily on the education because if you don't educate people, they will just never buy. So my point is like, it's going to be hard and you have to stick with it for the long term. And so I'll share some episodes that might help you figure out how to approach it in a way that's not boring. That's my goal. Yeah. Anna, thank you. You are amazing. I'm just so wowed by all the stuff that you've been doing. I'm just impressed. I'm so happy that you were able to join me on my show. Like my friend is on my show. This is amazing. If anybody wants to find Anna, she's on LinkedIn, Anna Height Baskin, and check out Hightail. You really should. Hightail.com is the website you should go to. And Anna, thank you again. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate it. So fun.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Building with Buyers. New episodes drop weekly, so make sure you're following wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on LinkedIn, Anna Furmanov. Visit my website to learn more about how to turn customer insights into positioning and messaging your buyers will understand, FurmanovMarketing.com. And don't forget to leave a review if you're loving the show.